Hey, what's up guys? This is Jeff with Gamestork, and what's the deal with the AAA third-party support for the Nintendo Switch?
Gamestork, delivering news, reviews, and newborn playthroughs. Oh yeah, baby.
So here we are in a post-E3 world where we half expected all these people to get on stage or on video or whatever, wherever they'd be, and to come out and just say something like, oh yes, you remember when we said we were bullish in our, support of the Nintendo Switch? Well, here it is. Let's reveal it. Or, hey, you remember that time when we said that we support the Nintendo Switch fully and we're working on projects? Well, here they are. Well, there's like a ton of third-party developers all over the place who have openly talked about the fact that they're working on projects for the Nintendo Switch. But why didn't we see any of these at E3? Like, what's the deal? We saw more of FIFA. We saw that they announced Rocket League, which is really cool to me. And the fact that you can play, two-player co-op on the same screen anywhere, even in handheld mode is extremely impressive. 60 frames per second anywhere that you go is extremely impressive for that game. Some people have argued that that game is old, but I believe that on the Nintendo Switch you'll see a revitalization of just awesomeness. A lot more people playing it, a lot more people having fun, especially with this new deal with Microsoft, where you'll be able to play with people on the Xbox or on Windows from your Nintendo Switch. That's just awesome. Let's face it, that's amazing. That's like the best news. I wish PS4 was in on that. When I played this game, it was on the PS4, so but that's cool, that's okay. But anyway, the question is, where's all the third-party support? Now, we see tons of indie games coming to the Nintendo Switch, champions of the third party this year. Oh man, they were rocking it. Then we see just lots of companies who are kind of coming out with stuff but not necessarily announcing it, like Monster Hunter World was conspicuously absent from the Switch lineup. Like, its title was really just, it surprised me it wasn't there, I guess, but then again, it was announced at a PS4 conference. And then Double Cross, Capcom's come out and said, we got no plans to localize this at this time. So, we're left saying, like, Capcom, what's the deal? Are you really working on stuff? What's going on? Or to all these other companies. Now, we do have some third parties coming to the Switch this year. Don't get me wrong. Sega's bringing Sonic over. We have Dragon Ball, Xenoverse 2 coming. We've got Fate, Extella coming. We got a lot of stuff coming that's going to be really good, from Payday 2 to you name it. I mean, there's a lot of games for what it is, but we went into E3 expecting just more, like future things, kind of like the Metroid Prime 4 banner that showed that JPEG file. Like, I was hoping for that, like the rapid fire, like boom, 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 boom. Here's what we have coming in the future. Now, the thing is, Nintendo, let's face it, Nintendo does E3, these direct conferences, should I say, all year round. They don't have to just do this at E3. So their Nintendo Spotlight presentation at E3 just reached a bigger audience, but it was essentially the same thing. So essentially, we've just been left just kind of hanging there, wondering, like, what's the deal? And I want to talk about this just a little bit today, and the fact that we know that games are coming. Now, when Nintendo announced the Switch, we initially realized that there were problems with third-party support. No one wanted to jump on board, and despite the fact that the Nintendo Switch development consoles or dev kits were sent out to these people, they just weren't interested in this, because why? They didn't see the magic in the beginning. Obviously, a dev kit's not always the same as the magic of the true console, but the thing is the failure in marketing of the Wii U. And don't get me wrong, like I do talk about the fact that the Wii U failed in marketing, but the Wii U was a solid console. It was really powerful for the time that it came out, even though it was technically next generation over the consoles that it was more powerful than, like the PS3. But this thing was a good console. It was solid. It had its downsides, like you couldn't carry the gamepad more than about 5 foot from the system, it seemed like. But it had a lot of good games, which is why ports are such a good idea, because that 13 million install base is going to be met within a year on the Nintendo Switch. Plus, the fact that, there's probably going to be about 5 million extra people that never got to play those games. Not to mention, as the games come out and as the years go, those ports make more and more sense. But the question is, like, what's the deal? Like, what's going on here? Why don't we see more games? What is happening? So at the launch of any console, and let's not forget that the Nintendo Switch is 3 months old here, you're not going to see like a ton of anything. Now the Wii U launched with a ton of software, and it started really well, and then it just lost. It lost its sales, it lost everything in about month 3, and it suffered. And why did it suffer? Because of the lack of focus on the first party end of Nintendo. Because what drives sales of Nintendo systems is not third party support. It is Mario, it's Zelda, it's Kirby, it's Yoshi, it's Smash Brothers, it's Pokken, it's Pokemon, right? It's all those things. That's what sells Nintendo systems, not third party stuff. However, there are people like me who dream that third parties would get on board with this and port all of their games so that this could be the new portable, like Super Nintendo. Can you remember back in the days, those of you who had one and were alive at that point, when Super Nintendo came out, just everything was on that one system? Like everything. Games galore. I mean, you could just go. I remember going to the movie rental place that was in our town, and there were just like hundreds of games to rent for this thing, and we would just go have a blast and rent them. And those don't exist nowadays, as even Blockbuster's closed. But man, it was awesome, and like every kind of game was on the console. I think that Nintendo could do that here too, but it's just going to take time. Anyway, back to what I was saying about them with the dev kits. They weren't interested because of the so-called failures of the Wii U in sales, and when they put their games on the Wii U system, they lost money. It costs money to port a game, especially to a system like that. Now, what Nintendo has done here with the Switch, which differentiates itself from the Wii U system, is that it's running on that 86 architecture, which makes it a lot easier to port over. It's already got support for Unreal Engine 4, as we even see the new Yoshi game that was announced. That's on Unreal Engine 4, if you didn't know. Oh yeah, baby. That's what I'm talking about. And a bunch of other stuff like Yebus. There are tons of engines that run on this thing. Oh man, I mean, Nintendo is really nailing it as far as support from all of these different engines and builds and games and things like that. So it's essentially now up to the company as to whether or not they want to port the thing over. There are a lot of people talking about power and this and that, but the fact is, Nintendo Switch, because it doesn't use an optical drive, has above 3, at least 3 plus gigabytes of RAM to use as far as running games, which isn't, it's not as high as the PS4, which is up to 5, but that's also pretty comparable to be able to run similar games. And we see in Rocket League that they're going to be able to accomplish running a frame rate of 60 frames per second. And I know people are saying, well, it's only in 720p. Well, yeah, but it's also an early build of the game because they just started working on it because they were, kind of undecided as to where to go. So they might be able to optimize this thing for 1080p dock mode in the future, which is totally cool with me. But I think we'll see third parties begin to jump on board here as the time goes, and at least by next year's E3, I think we'll see a lot more support because once 15 to 18 million, as is projected, consoles sell in the first year, people are going to notice, and that's one of the things right now. The install base on the Nintendo Switch, although it's had really, really good sales, and we don't know the exact number here, but just say that so far 3 million have sold, that's only 3 million install base. So will a company really push aside assets in order to develop for a console that only has 3 million people who own it? And then you have to think about attach rate. There are people that will not buy that game for the console. So, they're probably not going to make a ton of money right now. But when you have 18 million, that's when we're going to be having a much different conversation. The Wii U didn't sell their games well, so they're saying, okay, we're learning from the past, let's not jump in here. Now, the cool thing is that Nintendo understands this. Nintendo is very open to us, the fans. They were very open to the developers. They were open to everyone about the fact that, third parties were not going to be on board in 2017, that we were going to see a lot of first-party software to fill out each month to drive sales, and that's what we see. Nintendo is delivering on what they promised. They said, we are going to drive the sales. We're going to put out a big game every month. We're going to make sure there's something on the console constantly to play, and that's what they've been doing. Their first-party studios have been working their butts off to get all these awesome games out, as we see coming for the rest of this month, from Fire Emblem to, and I know you guys, you're like, those are second party. Those games are licensed by Nintendo. They're oversaw by Nintendo, or overseen by Nintendo. They bought out Monolith Soft, who's working on Xenoblade 2 in-house. They got Mario Odyssey coming out this year, and I can be more excited about what's coming. We also have Splatoon 2, obviously, next month. ARMS just came out, and they're really pushing these games out. They got Ubisoft to make this awesome game, the Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, which I've had nothing but faith in this game since the very beginning. And then once they show it, it like blows everybody out of the water. It's like XCOM 2 meets Mario and Rabbids, and it just looks awesome. It's gonna be a game that we talk about for a long time. And don't forget, too, that game that's big third-party support right there, and the fact that Miyamoto went on stage and essentially just talked about how great this thing was and how excited he was. That means this is a quality game, and you can look at it and tell how much thought and work and just everything has gone into this. It's definitely going to be worth it. But as I was saying, not everyone's going to buy Madden, and pretty much the Nintendo crowd, the base Nintendo fans, a lot of them aren't huge sports nerds as far as games. And, you know, I love playing Madden. I don't really play FIFA, but I am going to play this FIFA. I am going to purchase this simply because I want to support EA on the Nintendo Switch, and I want to be a part of that movement to bring all the EA games onto the Switch. If you guys don't know, if you want third-party games or these companies to put more of their games on this console, then what speaks to them more than anything else is money. If they make money, they bring games. So I want to be a part of that, and if that means buying FIFA, trying to learn how to play, that's fine. One of the only times that I played FIFA, like really played a match, was when I was waiting for ironically, waiting for the release of the Nintendo Switch, a midnight release, and they let us hang out in GameStop, and one of their setups there was FIFA, and that's all they had on it was on an Xbox. That's all they had on the Xbox, so there was just everybody in there playing FIFA against each other with the same teams because it was a demo. But, you know, that's cool. I had a lot of fun with it, don't get me wrong. It seemed like a really fun game. It's just frustrating that you fight this entire game and you never score, or you score 1 point. It's just very frustrating. Whereas I'm much better at Madden. Much better. Anyway, NHL would be great too. Anyway, bringing over all the EA games would be fun. All the Capcom games. You know, it's one of those things to where as time goes, we're going to see more and more. As the install base grows, we're going to see more games. And this is one thing. Don't lose your head about this. Don't lose your head about not seeing it. We know From Software, we know Capcom, we know tons of teams everywhere have already said that they're working on Switch games. They haven't announced them yet, okay? They sure haven't. But that doesn't mean that they quit working on them. That just means that they're not ready to announce them, which means that 2017 is the year Nintendo builds themselves up with first party. And I'm sure they'll continue that on to 2018, as we've seen Yoshi and Kirby doing that. And 2018, about midway through to the end, now remember these words, because you'll comment in the section on my channel after next summer and say, you're right, Gamestork. But about next summer, which we'll say next E3, we're going to see a lot of third-party support, and it's going to blow everyone away. Nintendo essentially won E3, okay, with what they had, which is amazing. There's something different. There's something fresh. And, you know, you watch all the other conferences, it's like the same regurgitated stuff. Don't get me wrong, I'm excited about a lot of the games. But when you watch that same game at like 4 different conferences, you're like, man, I really need something different. You know what I'm saying? And Nintendo offers that. They're one of a kind. There's nothing like them. And that's why, as I've always said, there's a place for Nintendo as well as Sony and Xbox in my gaming life. And Nintendo is probably number one on that list. We just need to get a lot of those games to mesh in, so this can be my modern day Super Nintendo with everything on one system. How I would love to have Persona 5 on the Nintendo Switch. How I would love to have Madden and be able to play that. How I would love to have all these other games that I play on my PS4 or whatever it is, you know. And hopefully they will come. I'm sure that they will. I just want to make this video to discuss this a little bit so that people, you know, I've seen some people online kind of freaking out about this and like, oh, it's over, they're dead, this is Wii U all over again. Well, the fact of the matter is that there are a ton of companies currently working on Switch titles, but they're just not ready to bring them over yet. So I'm looking at the second half of 2018 is going to be huge for the Nintendo Switch. Not to mention Metroid actually be shown next year at E3, and going into 2019, man, this system's going to take off. And I believe in 2019 they're going to announce the reiteration of the system with whatever the Tegra X2 chip will be called at that point. We don't know. But I believe in 2019, that's when they're going to announce the powered up Switch, I guess you'd call it, that has more power. And then at that point, we'll have something akin to the PS4 power, the base PS4's power on the go, and that's going to be friggin' amazing. Okay, so people can hate all they want on the Nintendo Switch, but the time's coming where they're going to, you know, do very well in the market. Third parties are going to come when the install base comes, as a lot of them are already working on it. So anyway, let me know how you feel about that in the comments below. If you have that same faith, and you know, we tend to forget all these companies that have said, hey, we're working on Switch games, you know, just because we didn't see them immediately. I think Nintendo's had a very strong start. Their sales are proof of that, and I believe that they will continue to do so, and they'll continue to have that third-party support because of it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe below if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time.
Gamestork, delivering news, reviews, and playthroughs like a newborn baby.